things that you can impact. And so now we're going to talk about the leading indicators of NIAC, those things that you can focus on in terms of how you do business and when you're making trade-offs out in the market, or what are you going to focus on so that you know if tomorrow we rolled out a comp plan that paid you purely on the value that you create, you'd say, geez, okay, do I just keep focused on volume? Is that the only thing I worry about is booking volume? Well, if they don't use it, that's not going to pay you much. A line of credit that gets booked that doesn't have anything outstanding on it doesn't generate any economic value. Yeah. So these are your leading indicators. You have a huge impact on new commitments. I mean, as you see, that's what our ranking reports talk about all the time. That's your measure. Pricing, absolutely something you have control over. It's how you go out in the market. I really hope that at the end of this session you'll walk out and be much better in terms of your ability to discuss pricing, because you'll understand more of what's going on with the business, particularly by the end of the day. Losses, again, we don't need to beat that to death. Utilization is so key here. I mean, you'll see in a second when we start talking about sensitivities how much it impacts the income. Cost of acquisition, of course. Not a lot we can do there. Just be mindful of it. There's a quote by Warren Buffett that essentially says great managers have an ability to continue to find more productive ways to utilize capital without spending a lot of money. Essentially, you can stretch a dollar into $1.50. And then managers that like to waste money are uncanny at their ability to figure out ways to spend money and not get corresponding revenue or value for it. So the only thing you have to ask the question is, you're going to spend a dollar, or which pager you want to carry is, if you were paid at the bottom line based on the value you create, which one would you choose? So, just kind of be thinking about that in real time. Timing, very big thing here. Timing is not only when the deal books, but how many days it takes us to book it. You're going to see on day 3 a lot of information with regard to how long it takes us to put a deal to bed. And we're running now on average, it's pushing 20 days. And that's not really what we built. We built something that turns deals like that. So if we can take time out of the process, as a maximum says, customer satisfaction goes up, costs go down, profits go up. I mean, GE is a classic example of that. Read a book on Jack Welch, and he'll talk about the fact that speed is all he talks about because of that maxim. And it always happens. Greater customer satisfaction, lower cost, higher profits. The other thing is, if Colleen did an analysis, and if we booked in month 3 what we book in month 1, if we turned it upside down each quarter and just did that, exact same loans, we would have made almost $1 million more this year. It's just a time value of money thing. The sooner it gets on the books, and we just so happen to book most of our volume in the 3rd month every quarter, so we spend the majority of the 1st quarter, for instance, with nothing on the books for that, for that period of time. So we book it all in the 3rd month. If we could turn it around, or if you could turn it around, it'd have a big impact. Cross-sell and retention. Mike talked about it. You know it. And just kind of be mindful of it. But these are your leading indicators. We are a very sensitive bunch. When you look at the trade-offs between these different leading indicators, it's going to be very difficult to read this. That's why I put the blow-ups on there. What I gave you are 3 different products. You're going to get a model that's going to allow you to play with these different sensitivities, so you can see by making a trade-off on a fee or a rate or utilization, etc., what the impact to the value of that loan is. Net present value is just the sum of each year's present value of the cash flows. Okay, so it's the total, what the thing is worth. And what impacts value the most on a line, obviously, is utilization. The other thing is, this is the highest where loan fees are, is on lines. Loan fees make a huge difference on lines of credit. They make much less of a difference on other products. But on lines of credit, the more fee we can get, the better. And the only time I would even consider giving away a fee is unless you could convince me that there is one heck of a lot of utilization, because we don't make, lines are the toughest place to have themselves, to rationalize themselves economically. The other loans, because you get full utilization right out the shot, they're a better economic bet. So take a look at these, because not all the trade-offs are created equal. And when you're looking to get trade-offs, being aware of these and understanding them will really help you make good business decisions and have a business case. So when Mike James calls you, like he described in there, if you make a trade-off or do a buy-down or override CDS, you can not only talk about the risk profile, but the economic profile and how you change it as a result of your decision. And you'll have a model so you can go in and play with that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's rate buy down. Yeah. How are we doing on time? Okay, perfect. Economics of a CLO. This is the part that I loved because I started to ask the question, where do our goals come from? You know, well, why is it 2.5? And there are a couple different answers to that. There's actually an answer. And I was afraid because I've seen some things where, you know, you just kind of pull a number and say 2.5, that's a good number. Yeah, 2.5. Turns out 2.5 is a very good number, and I'm going to show you why. First thing I have to do in order to show you why is introduce a measure of economic efficiency, and that is called acquisition ratio. It's basically taking this whole present value issue of the ongoing income stream thrown off, say, by a loan, and dividing it by the cost of acquiring that loan. So if you do a loan and we generate $3 in value, and it costs us $1 to acquire it, you have an acquisition ratio of 3 to 1. In fact, that's usually the hurdle for most businesses, is to have an acquisition ratio of 3 to 1. $3 in value for every dollar of expense in acquiring that. Ours is a fairly mature business, so you know, we're tolerated at a ratio of somewhere between 2 and 3 to 1. And the reason for this is it's the filter through which the company views its investment options. It's a relative measure. So is 2.5 or 3 to 1 good? Is it all it takes? Well, it depends. I mean, if we're on the table compared to a whole bunch of other investment options that the bank has, and some have multiples of, say, 7, 8 to 1, where the bank can invest $1 and get $8 of value back, we have a problem. Fortunately, as you'll see, the changes in the comp plan have really changed the dynamics of our multiple on the cost of acquisition ratio. And you'll see that in a second, or the acquisition ratio, I'm sorry. Okay? Imagine, if you will, a place of value creation, job security, and happy shareholders. You've now entered the economic zone, and we had not been in the economic zone, as you can tell from these two lines on this curve. I'm going to explain them, and then if you have a question, we'll touch on it. Remember, I said that we needed a multiple of 2 to 3 to 1 on the acquisition ratio to be considered a competitive investment compared to the other investments that the bank has at its disposal, even that BBG has at its disposal. And the blue line is the old comp plan. And across the bottom, the x-axis here is how much was acquired. So you can see the old comp plan was really humped. It wasn't very linear in nature. It wasn't flat. So it was really economical. It was a good bet for a few people in a certain band, but we started to drop off. In fact, we were below 2 to 1 here, and we were below 2 to 1 here. So a big piece of the comp plan and a big chunk of the CLOs were not, you know, in total, we're not making BLD a really compelling investment. So, I mean, it might be fine to just kind of sit and let it go, but we want investment dollars. We want to be able to do new things. We want to be able to grow the business, enter new markets, buy new computers, get money so that we can do different things. By changing the comp plan, you'll see we've flattened this out so that even our outliers, the people way out here doing huge amounts of volume, are above this 2 to 1. Now, we don't have that hump anymore, so we're, you know, on a few people, we're not getting that gigantic multiple that you might love to have. But when you talk about most of the CLOs in this range, particularly between 3 and 6 million, are making more money, which was the good news, because when we started working on the comp plan, I was really worried. My concern was I don't want to take money away from the people that do most of the real work, which is the majority of the CLOs, and put them at risk to a competitor that might come in with a little higher base salary and a comp plan. I mean, if we can figure out a way to pay you really well to generate between 3 and 6 million, that was not only a good deal for me, because then I have, you know, happier employees, hopefully, and we all feel like we're in this together, but then we're a compelling investment. We have more people that are able to play. And that we achieve that, particularly in that band. And even at the edges, we're not uneconomic anymore like we used to be. So between 3 and 6 million, so you have one mark here. So remember the number 3 million, because your goal is not 3 million, it's 2.5. So then we said, okay, at what point is the CLO covering their fixed costs? So when we load everything in, you cost about $100,000 a year when you include your base salary and the cost of computers, and what else is loaded into that number, Don? Rent. Yeah, so those of you that want private offices, remember this as we're assigning goals. What this line shows is on this over here, this is the cost of acquisition as a percentage of the total. So this is in total commitments, 5.5 million, 9.5 million, 1.5 million, etc. What this line shows is at a 25% utilization.